All right, everyone, welcome into episode 148 here on September 25th, 2024. I'm Nikhil live from a currently dry Chattanooga, Tennessee, United States, but that's not going to be the case for much longer. And joining me from Americana, Sao Paulo, Brazil is Gus Tomazeli. And Gus, just be thankful that Brazil does not have to deal with hurricanes.
Yeah, but breaking news: Sao Paulo just tied the game with Caleri. Uh,
Oh, what a goal, too.
what a
Yeah, the
goal!
header into.
Typical Caleri. They say the fans chant, "Oh, pass to
Oh, those fans are
Caleri!"
going nuts.
Oh
I'm going to
yeah,
turn up the sound on this real quick.
oh yeah.
Hear what this sounds
Morumbi
like.
Wednesday night Libertadores can get more.
I love how the freaking cop with the riot shield is right next to the players celebrating.
Oh yeah, Luis Ubeldia. His team was not playing well. His team definitely was not playing well, especially in the first half. Botafogo's dominating score in the 15 minutes by Thiago Almada, former Atlanta United player, and then São Paulo got better in the second half. I thought that was not going to be the case because São Paulo missed a penalty in in the end of the first half, but they're dominating the end of the game, and Botafogo now is trying to survive at least to get to penalties. But
Yeah,
like
and
I
that
told,
goalie just stood there and watched it.
yeah, John, which is doing a great season so far, has been one of the main players for Botafogo. I guess he stood still, but Botafogo defense cannot allow Caleri to have that much freedom in that space in the penalty area because that's
Is that
uh,
toilet paper in the stands? Like
it's
what's
kind of like
all? What the,
it's kind of like a yeah. It's not like a toy. It's kind of like a dry, like a thin paper, color paper with red and white. So that's kind of. And now the game's gonna be stopped for sure. The game's gonna be stopped for sure because they put they turn it on kind of the I don't know what's the name in English, sinalizadores, when they turn it on, or I guess the referee is gonna let the game continue. For I thought was not allowed, but nevertheless, game tied 1-1 with less than a minute remaining in regular time, and that's what I was asking you, Nick. Can Botafogo serve or like you know keep their like keep it strong until the end because that's a thing and since last year that Botafogo plays really well. Oh my God! Here comes a broth. Here comes a fight.
Jesus
Oh,
Christ! It looks like the stadium's on freaking fire. I mean, it's that. Well, look at all the flares. Let's see. I've never understood this. When I see it like in like Greece and stuff, how does that like not catch the stadium on fire? Like this is insane. Like I can imagine like Neyland Stadium or any stadium in America allowing this.
uh, technically, it's not allowed. You're not supposed to, get into the stadium with, like those kind of flames, flares. Uh, but fans somehow, get inside the stadium with those things, and it's a really great scene for kind of let the stadium be kind of like a get the fans rocking it, and this game's gonna be crazy until the end. It looks like going to penalties, but Botafogo now has to stand strong, and I think they're gonna be with 9 players because I saw 2 red cards. I don't know if they're both for Botafogo players, but 2 red cards.
Man, like, see, I've only had this game on for 5 minutes. I've already gotten the full Brazilian soccer experience. We got a goal. We got flares in the stands. We got paper flying everywhere. We've got a
Yeah,
brawl. Like, I mean,
yeah,
this is the full experience. We've just watched in 5 minutes. Now, I don't know if we've explained it to the audience. I feel like if you're listening to this or watching this, you may not know what in the world we're talking about. We're talking about Botafogo versus Sao Paulo, and this is Copa Libertadores, Gus. And
the
talk
the the,
about the
Braz-
significance of this
the
particular match.
the South American version of Champions League. So that's the South American version of Champions League. So, you know, I'm not surprised. Libertadores can be a different meaning, especially because São Paulo won it not once, not twice, three times. São Paulo is the kind of team that has more tradition. Botafogo never won Libertadores. They are more inexperienced kind of team, but they have the best roster.
God, I love this ref. This ref is so funny. It's just so sassy. He's like, "Oh, look at me, look at me. Here's your red card. Here's your red card. Here's your yellow card." Like, this is stupid entertaining. Where are you in this game? I'm at 91, 35, 36, 37,
I am
38.
in 92. I'm 92. I guess I'm a minute ahead
You're,
of you.
you're about
I'm
20 seconds ahead of me.
Yeah, I'm 92. So the confusion start with Botafogo player Marçal and São Paulo head coach Luiz Ubeldia. They kind of
Yeah,
went
so
on each other.
Rafinha got the red card.
How, yeah, Rafinha, one of the most experienced players. He used to play for Bayern Munich. So the broth starts with Marçal, Botafogo player, and São Paulo head coach Luiz Ubeldia. They got into an argument, and then a whole chaos started. So, oh wow, that's the Libertadores experience. That's what I call a full Libertadores experience. Go at the end of the game, fight, flames, and whole mess. So I
Also,
guess
this coach for Sao Paulo is an absolute electric factory too. The
yeah,
guy in the white shirt. I mean, this dude is
yeah,
absolutely losing his mental.
yeah. He's very electric. Yeah, Luis Ubeldia. He's from I believe Argentina.
Right, he was the one who
Uh,
started the fight. It was the dude. He was
yeah,
the one this is who the
yeah,
U.S. men's team needed to hire. We needed someone who isn't going to be a stale ham sandwich, like how we refer to our old friend Jared Pruitt. We need someone who's going to be fiery. Um,
yeah,
I want
yeah.
this guy sent to the U.S. men's team immediately.
But U.S. men's national team got a more experienced version of that. Mauricio Pochettino can be as electric as Luis Obeldia, and he's proven to be kind of like a better coach with a better resume, especially with success at Tottenham, at PSG. So I guess Zubeldia is São Paulo is the biggest gig in his career. He Last year he was at LDU from Ecuador that won the Copa Sul-Americana. So he is having if São Paulo is eliminated, his job is very much on the line. He's very much on the line. This goal might save his job at São Paulo, but there's still more like 5-ish minutes play to be played in Morumbi, and we'll see what happens. We'll definitely keep up to date. Just to update the other matchups, River Plate eliminated Colo Colo 1-0 yesterday. River Plate,
I've never even heard
still,
of that team, the Cala Cala.
yeah, from Chile. Chile. And it's a lot of pressure for River Plate to make it to the final because their stadium is going to host the Libertadores final. So there's a lot of pressure, and a lot of journalists are saying that whoever's going to face River Plate in the semifinals, which is going to be Atlético Mineiro, might have to watch out for refs and stuff because CONMEBOL, the confederation, the South American Confederation, I'll say has a very close relationship with the Argentinian soccer federation. So definitely it's going to be very difficult for Atlético Mineiro, that's for sure. But
Now, how
tonight,
long has it been since an Argentine team made it to the final?
the last time was 2019 when River Plate lost to Flamengo in an incredible final where River Plate was up 1-0 until the stoppage time, and then Flamengo scored twice a stoppage time to win the 2019 Copa Libertadores, and then
Yeah, because I've heard you talk about this about how ever since I've known you, it's always been Brazil versus Brazil in the final, and how
yeah,
that is making it pissing off every other country in South America.
yeah. Oh no, last year there was an Argentinian team as well. I forgot Boca Juniors lost to Fluminense. But the last time an Argentinian won the Libertadores was 2018 when they made a final, River and Boca. The game was played in Spain because of fan fighting outside of River Plate Stadium, and the final went to it was played at Real Madrid Stadium, Santiago Bernabeu. So there's a lot of pressure for an Argentinian team to win because since 2019, all winners of Libertadores has been Brazilian. Flamengo, Palmeiras, Flamengo, and last year Fluminense. So has been a real Sao Paulo supremacy in terms of Libertadores.
That was such
And
a dirty tackle just now by the Sao Paulo guy. I don't know what
yeah,
his name is, but he didn't. That was not all ball. Vinicius.
oh, Igor Vinicius. Yeah, he's kind of a young
Wasn't
up.
he at Real Madrid? Oh no, that's a different one.
No, he's a yeah. I think I believe he's a young player, right fielder, young player. He's very promising though, but he can be a very strong tackle. So the Botafogo's reserve goalkeeper also was expelled. That and Sao Paulo's right wing Rafinha was also expelled. That's why they had to put Igor Vinicius in.
Now he's
But
already gotten himself a yellow card. So way to go
yeah,
on there.
yeah. And so one semifinal Libertadores already set up, River Plate Atlético Mineiro, and the other semifinal, one game we're kind of broadcasting right now, Sao Paulo Botafogo, and tomorrow Peñarol and Flamengo in Uruguay. If Flamengo lost 1-0 at home, so Flamengo's gonna have to at least win by one goal to make it to penalties.
That would be embarrassing. I mean, that's embarrassing anyway to lose 1-0 at
Yeah,
home, and then especially for a team from Uruguay. I mean, that's from what I understand. That's not the same caliber soccer country.
I mean, Peñarol is a very traditional team. They are one of the most successful teams, not only in Uruguay but in South America. But in comparing the monetary value of both teams, almost Botafogo scored. Oh my God, almost Botafogo scored on a corner kick. But but yeah, like the difference between I want to even pick it up the how much money like the value of the players of Peñarol and Botafogo is probably very huge.
Mhm.
So Peñarol's value is I'm trying to find. So so I'm going to the transfer market website. So uh, but I imagine 33 million euros Peñarol.
And what is that in like USD? I wonder.
And like Flamengo has probably Flamengo's roster is worth 6 times more than Peñarol's roster. 6 times. So Peñarol is uh, $30 million, the total value of the roster, and Flamengo is $200 million. So that's why there's a lot of there. That's why there's a lot of pressure for Flamengo to advance because of how the value of the roster and everything. And it's the end of the regulation in Morumbi, 1-1. So we're going to penalty kicks.
Well, this is
Wow.
about to be an absolute electric factor right here. Absolute.
Yeah. I imagine what are going through the minds of Botafogo fans. Like we came so far, we're having a terrific season. We played better overall, but then we had a slip up. We let São Paulo tie, and now penalties. And penalties is a lottery. We call penalty a lottery because and São Paulo already missed a penalty tonight with Lucas Moura, their best player. So who knows what's gonna happen in Morumbi? We're definitely gonna keep up to date of what's happening in Morumbi. Not the game behind me though, but I put because of the game I put the Morumbi. That's the stadium the game is happening, but it's
How's it
Morumbi.
compared to Itakara?
It's a bigger stadium, bigger stadium, but it's a bigger stadium, but the stands are further from the pitch. Itaquera, the pitch is very close to the stands. In Morumbi, it's kind of like an old stadium was built in the 1960s. So they have a kind of like it accommodates more fans, but the space between the stands and the pitch is larger. So that's there, but definitely tonight was like 66,000 fans. I would imagine. I even want to check the attendance, but I imagine it was like a full capacity.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a really crazy atmosphere. I would like it to. I really want to experience one of these atmospheres as a neutral. Although I know you have to be really careful as a neutral.
Yeah, you'll be
Presumably.
fine. You'll be fine. You have the best tour soccer tour guide in Brazil, which is me. I know where how to go, what games to go, how can navigate all that. Like I have 12 years
And
of
plus, they would know immediately. I'm an American. I know
yeah.
nothing. I'm here just to have fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, and I'll tell you, like it's just simple. And as you guys learn from the NFL game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers, don't go wearing green for Corinthians Stadium. That's the biggest rule of all. Don't wear green to Corinthians Stadium. Not even the NFL changed that. Not even the NFL was able to change that. So it's that's a rule. And there's other like kind of like a rules like when you go as an away fan there's a space for you, but you have to like kind of like disguise or like in a different entrance. And it can be a very intense experience, especially playoff game like tonight. Libertadores. It's a very unique experience. I'll tell you that. Like I lived there with Corinthians back in 2012. I watched all Corinthians games in the 2012 campaign of Libertadores title, and it was a surreal experience. So I cannot even imagine what is the feeling of the fans in Morumbi right now waiting for penalties. It's a surreal experience.
Yeah, see, everyone is hydrating right now. Is it hot down there? Because I guess
Oh yeah.
we're in spring right
Oh
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's really hot right now. Currently, in at least in Americana, 79 degrees Fahrenheit right now, and it's
That's
11.
fine. Yeah.
Oh
Well, okay. Well, I mean, that late at night, it's actually pretty
yeah,
warm. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah. And
So,
and technically we are at actually we kind of summer, I guess, but
because like, do y'all have like a spring like we do in America?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm, yeah. But anyway, yeah, as they get ready for penalties down there, how are things going in Brazilian Championship?
Oh, I mean, Corinthians is fighting for their life. Won 3-0 on Memphis Depay debut. It was a really good game. 3-0, but they're still in relegation zone. Botafogo won by luck, pure luck, against Fluminense. But so Botafogo is still at first place. Palmeiras won, I think, their sixth consecutive game against. Let me check. I know they're playing Guarani on playing Atlético Mineiro on Saturday. I'll be there broadcasting. But they won against Vasco on the road, 1-0. So they had a really good win against Vasco da Gama, and and it was a very interesting game. I'll say it. And now the
Yeah,
penalties are going to start.
and I see Corinthians actually is going to be in this very stadium on Sunday, and what I
Yes,
believe is the Derby.
yes, yes. São Paulo is playing there because there's going to be a Bruno Mars concert in a few days at Morumbi, so they chose to play in Brasilia and get some money out of it because since there's no professional teams at Brazil's capital, and we have this huge stadium there because of the 2014 World Cup. So teams kind of go play there for fans, for like fans of the teams, like some like Vasco and Palmeiras. There was the record of fans for a game in Brazil, the 65,000 fans there. So
Well, that
there is
makes sense because Brazil. I know it's a newer city. Probably not a lot of natives there, but they're coming from all over Brazil, so that makes so much. It's like in DC, right? Whenever a visiting team goes to the Commander Stadium, that team tends to have a lot of people just because
well,
there's a
yeah.
lot of people from everywhere in DC.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's a great point. Brasilia was founded in the 1960s, and it was a place where there was not many people living in. It was like in the middle of literally in the middle of nowhere. So that's true. There's a lot of people who don't have connections to the area from the past, so they adapt the teams that their parents or grandparents rooted, and mostly probably from Rio and Sao Paulo. So that makes sense of team from Rio and Sao Paulo that play there. So Jonathan Caleri is going to be the first one to kick the penalty. The guy who
I mean, it
scored.
reminds me. Go ahead.
He kicks. He missed it. Missed the
Oh
penalty.
man,
Missed the penalty. Missed the penalty. Uh, shoot. He shot on the post. On the post.
there's
Poor
no right in that
Caleri.
stadium.
Poor Caleri. Hero in regulation, and now maybe the villain in the penalty shootout.
Man, I wish I wasn't so far behind. I'm like, oh, the kick still hasn't happened for me.
I feel bad, but I mean, I don't want to spoil for you, but I feel like, I guess I'll wait
No,
for you to update. I guess I'll wait for you to update. I
oh
don't
no,
want to,
no, no, no. You can go ahead. You can go ahead. It's fine.
but then you can give your perspective on the kick. It
Oh
wasn't,
my gosh! How in the world? I mean,
yeah,
off the top of the crossbar. I mean,
yeah,
the goalie didn't even have to do anything.
yeah. Now Botafogo is gonna kick the first one, and he scores. Scores. I guess I don't know who the. I guess I think. Let me check. Who kicked? He's celebrating, and 1-0 Botafogo leading the penalty shootout in Morumbi.
Because I'm seeing them set up now for this first Botafogo kick that obviously goes in. But yeah, still, I mean,
Oh, Thiago
yeah,
Almada. Thiago Almada, former Atlanta United player, he scored.
let's say I feel like because now that you mentioned that, he does look a bit familiar.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
used to play. He used to play for Atlanta United. And Luis Gustavo, former Bayern Munich player, kicked. He scored. He kind of made a mistake that allowed Botafogo to score in regulation. Now on penalty kicks, at least do a good kick. The first penalty that São Paulo got on target because they missed the penalty on regulation on the post, and then the first penalty in the penalty shootout, they missed the first one, and finally they got in.
yeah. Now I'm trying to test a bit of my Portuguese while I'm watching this with all the signs and stuff. So I see
Uh-huh.
there's like a no somos. I couldn't tell what the other words were. On the banner around the stands. And no, so I know that's we
We are,
are.
we are something. I'm trying to find them. And Botafogo scored 2-1, 2-1. Botafogo. Botafogo is leading again, 2-1. The penalty shootout.
Yeah. So we have Onde a Moada Compi. I know, I just butchered the crap
No,
out of that.
no, the one behind the goal is every day I want you more, because there's a 10. A cada dia eu te quero mais. And the near one is Morumbi Raiz. It's kind of like Morumbi Roots, kind of like saying, oh, we are old fashioned stadium, like an old fashioned stadium. So Lucas Moura, he missed a penalty in regulation, and he's gonna kick, and he scores. but almost missed it. Almost missed it. Oh wow! Like São Paulo fans are biting their fingers. They are nervous.
Yeah, I mean, just the drama, just watching the fans in the stands. They showed one woman that her head was in her face. Or
Oh
not,
yeah,
what am I saying? Her head was in her hands.
yeah.
Of course, the face is going to be in your hands. Like, I don't know what I'm saying.
No, yeah. It's a whole drama. I guess now Marçal is gonna kick the third one.
Whoever is shooting this game is absolutely killing it. Like the shots straight up are awesome.
Yeah,
So
I
shout
think
out to whoever's producing.
it's the common ball, and now it's like the NFL, the like the confederation now has all the kind of the cameras and shots, so probably you're seeing the same shots as I see here from the channel here global. So Botafogo 3-2, 3-2. Oh wow. Mm. uh
So that means so
so
they're
if
getting
São Paulo,
closer.
So if São Paulo missed and Botafogo gets it right, it's the end. And now Rodrigo Nestor, the hero in Brazilian Cup last season, he's going for it and he scores the kind of the same way Lucas kicked. He kicked, so 3-3, 3-3 in.
Also noticing that these teams too are huge fans of New Balance for their
Oh yeah,
uniforms.
yeah, yeah. New Balance, it's their uh, the company that makes their uniform.
Yeah, looking at the crowd, this reminds me so much of the SEC.
Yes, yes, yes. Libertadores is like the peak. Like this atmosphere is like Tennessee, Alabama, uh, Alabama, LSU, like Texas, Oklahoma. That the biggest you can get. That's
Yeah,
and Botafogo missed it. Both Vitinho missed it for Botafogo. No way. Oh my
surrender
god.
Cobra, surrender Cobra.
Oh my god. Botafogo.
So
No way.
That's so Botafogo. The Atlanta Falcons of
So
Brazil.
Botafogo. That's so. You described perfectly. That's so Botafogo. Botafogo fans are like, not again, not again. Oh, I feel. And he played well, Vitinho, but he missed the penalty. Missed the penalty. Both like São Paulo fans are like, we have a chance. We have a chance. I believe it.
Yeah, so we
Oh
might be
my.
going here forever now. That it's tied here in the last go. Oh my god! Now I just suddenly saw it. See
Yeah.
how far behind? I mean, that wasn't even close. I mean, that has to just be pure adrenaline going through his feet there. And man,
Yeah.
like the one woman is just like
São
this.
Paulo. São Paulo scored. São Paulo scored. Luciano, the one of the players that the fans idolized. Like, and
If Botafogo misses this, they better rush the pitch.
I mean, unfortunately, you can't do that anymore. And as I said, the stands are kind of far from the field. But yeah, definitely will be a very emotional game for Sao Paulo. Like if Botafogo is eliminated, it's gonna be so unfair. But that is soccer. Like you have to, you have to kill when you can. Like when you miss so many opportunities,
Like
and
I would go and steal that car in the corner.
uh, and Thiago, and I guess now Thiago Almada scores for Botafogo. So we're going to the kind of like the extra penalty. So now you have, if you miss and the other one gets it right or vice versa, it's over. Oh my god.
The drama.
The drama in Morumbi for whoever's going to advance to Libertadores semis. Who's going to be Botafogo or Sao Paulo? So now we are in the over penalty is overtime. So Rodrigo Nestor, young player. He was a hero last year. And he missed it! He missed it! John saved! John saved! John saved! Botafogo goalkeepers make a huge save. Huge save. Great save. You're going to see in a little bit, but he was a great save.
Wow,
Oh,
wow. And now Sao Paulo has made a goal away from getting eliminated at home after being given a golden opportunity.
yeah. Yeah.
Man, the the epitome of brutality.
Oh, yeah. And I imagine Botafogo fans are not feeling, oh, score, please. We have to
Oh
exercise.
yeah, that was good.
He scored! Botafogo is in the semifinals of the 2024 Libertadores. Botafogo advanced, eliminating Sao Paulo in Morumbi.
What a thrilling win! What a gut check win for
What a
Botafogo. I mean,
gut check win. I mean, I know Botafogo fans are the most skeptical ones in Brazil, especially of everything that happened last year. But they are really, really now like kind of like an exorcism, getting all those traumas, like eliminating the traumas. They are for I guess the second time ever in the semifinals of Libertadores. São Paulo players are crying on the field, and it's sad because the last year's hero of the Brazilian Cup, Rodrigo Nestor, the guy who scored the goal that won the title, was the one who missed the decisive penalty.
man, that place is quiet as a doorknob outside
Yeah.
of the Botafogo section. Man, there's nothing like getting a big win on the road.
And now it's going to put even more pressure for Flamengo, because now if Flamengo advance, they're going to face Botafogo in probably one of the biggest kind of derby between the teams ever. And if Flamengo's eliminated, Botafogo fans are going to mock. It's like, hey, we made it. You guys didn't. So that is it for Brazilian soccer, with all that thrilling emotion of the Botafogo qualification for the semifinals of Libertadores. So let's see tomorrow if Flamengo can overcome the 1-0 deficit, or Peñarol is going to be the one who's going to face Botafogo. So that's it for Brazilian soccer, with this kind of very thrilling night for soccer here in Brazil.
Absolutely. And obviously, we just saw Botafogo get a huge road win. It reminds me of a certain other team. A certain other team that's in my backdrop, as the Volunteers, with the weight of the world on them, traveled out to the Great Plains, so what they call the Palace in the Plains in Norman, Oklahoma, with a coach in Josh Heupel, who had been exiled once upon a time after leading them to a national championship as a quarterback, becoming the offensive coordinator. He was scapegoated, blamed for their failures, fired. He got sent into the wilderness out in Utah State, worked his way back up to Tennessee, has revived the Vols program, and went into Norman and whooped that ass as Tennessee got a 25-15 victory. And I know it's only a 10-point margin, but this game wasn't that close. It was a beatdown. Yeah, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because, oh my gosh, since Heupel was hired, we've been talking about this offense, right? We've been talking about his ability as an offensive coach. But the Tennessee defense has arrived. I mean, oh my goodness, what they did to Oklahoma. I mean, one of the most impressive Tennessee defensive performances I have ever seen.
It's the kind of game that makes you feel, is this the year? I mean, definitely the game credentialed Tennessee to be, one of the main favorites to make it to the 12-team playoff. With I mean, now I'm not saying Tennessee is gonna win the SEC or even win the Natty, but I just can't see this team out of the 12-team playoff with especially a win, because this game was kind of like the testament if this team was ready to play on the big dog or not. And now I see they are ready.
Oh yeah, and because you got to remember, we're rewinding back 1 year to the first big game Tennessee had last year at Florida, and how much of a disaster that was. And we've talked about all offseason. Can this team win big games on the road? Because if you look at last year, right, they lost at Florida, lost at Bama, lost at Mizzou. Only road win was at Kentucky. The year before that, their 2 losses were also on the road at Georgia and at South Carolina. So this was going to be that test to see, can this program win games on the road, especially a game like this. It's going to be prime time, college game day. Everyone's watching, and they got it done. And they got it done in a game where they didn't really have a good offensive game. I mean, Imialaba, I thought, played an okay game. Like, he actually had a huge deep ball, Deontay Fort in there in the second quarter, or actually into the first quarter. And they even had another couple of nice throws here and there, but we were kind of handicapped in this game from an offense perspective because we didn't have a starting left tackle, Lance Hurd. John Campbell Jr. got hurt in the second quarter, so we were having to literally play our third string left tackle by the end of the first half. And Oklahoma's defense, to their credit, played a really great game. Oklahoma's defense played as well as they possibly could in this game because outside of the one deep ball they gave Deontay Ford, they really didn't give up anything in this game. And they gave Oklahoma's offense every single chance they had to potentially make this a ball game. Now, I want to get to Oklahoma's offense here in just a minute. But really, I mean, this just comes down to the defense. And through the first 3 quarters, Gus, probably the craziest stat in this game. Through 15 first down plays that Oklahoma had 15 different plays on a first down in this game. They had a total of -7 yards on those plays. Like, if you're not getting good games of first down, you're not doing anything. And Oklahoma couldn't do anything.
And credit to Tim Banks, because the way that he kind of worked at University of Tennessee, because remember, he arrived at Tennessee alongside Josh Heupel in 2021. And throughout those last 3 seasons, a lot of fans criticize him because the main criticism, and you have to agree with that, Nick, is that, the defense can't keep up with the offense. Like, we have a great offense, we don't have a great defense. That's not the case anymore.
That is absolutely correct, and because we finally have the depth. I mean, this defensive line that Tennessee has might be the best in the country this year. It's easily the best I've ever seen at Tennessee. I mean, this unit is 12 deep, and when you have 12 players that are capable of playing at a high level on the defensive line in your front 7, you're going to win a lot of football games. You're going to dominate a lot of football games. I mean, especially when the Tennessee defensive line overwhelmed Oklahoma's offensive line the way they did all day on Saturday. Elijah Simmons, he actually spoke a little bit today about the first play of the game. I believe he said it was a counter. He met it in the middle, dropped him for like a 2-yard loss. Oklahoma wouldn't run that play anymore. They were scared to because they knew that this defensive line was going to shut them down. And and also shout out to the secondary because, the secondary is brand new. There's a lot of questions about it. But Jamari McCoy, that dude is going to be a first-round pick. I mean, he was a shutdown corner, got an interception. I mean, the dude is he's so good. He's just an amazing cornerback. And the rest of the guys back there, too, that are all brand new are playing very, very well. And obviously, the front 7 helps them out a lot, but still, they're holding their own. And I am glad that we didn't get rid of Tim Banks. It could a less mature head coach would have fired Tim Banks after the South Carolina game in 2022. And there's a part of me that probably wanted that to happen after that game. But I'm glad Josh Heupel took a step back after and was like, look, we don't have the pieces yet to truly be elite, but if I keep this guy, he's going to be he's going to get us to where we need to go.
Yeah, he believed in the capability of Tim Banks to do a really great coaching job at defense. But you point out great, like Josh Heupel knew that he had to be patient with him because he will have to take some time to recruit in a high level in on defense because probably Hypo did a better recruiting in the offense, but once Tim Banks improved his defensive recruiting, he will probably do a great job as he's doing right now.
Right. Well, getting Hendon Hooker in the first offseason, I mean, that completely changed the trajectory of this offense. I mean, Heupel being able to go with Hooker in the first 2 years, I mean, that accelerated this rebuild for sure. And I mean, I'm just obviously as a Tennessee guy, I'm just super, super proud of what this defense has become and what this whole team has become. I mean, it's not just those two units, too, the special teams. Jackson Ross was awesome in this game. He directly was responsible for the safety that Tennessee got there in the second quarter to take a 12-3 lead. Max Gilbert was the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week, hit all of his field goals. He's been money all season. He's missed one field goal, and that was like at the end of, I believe, the Kent State game. Actually, no, I think it was in the NC State game that he missed a field goal. But, I mean, right now, arguably the weakest unit on this team is the offense, which is insane to say that. And really just because the offensive line's kind of banged up. But I think when the offensive line's back at full strength, I don't know what our weaknesses are. I mean, maybe the weakness is Nico is a little turnover prone. I mean, he had 2 sack fumbles in this game. Obviously, had 2 interceptions in the NC State game. But that's kind of nitpicking a little bit. And we have to remember, he's only started 5 games. And for a guy that's only started 5 games, he looks incredible for a guy playing 5 games. And think about it. This is the worst football Nico Emalava is ever going to play. And he's already a top 5 quarterback, in my opinion, in the SEC. And has the potential to become the best quarterback, not just in the SEC, but in the country.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of hype alongside Nico Emalava, and I think he should be considered. I won't say he's a front runner, but at least considered for the Heisman Trophy. He should be in the mix.
I mean, I think he could be. Now, the stats will have to massively go up, and I think our running game is going to be so good and so dominant against most teams not named Oklahoma, like what Dylan Sampson and Jashawn Bishop are doing back there are awesome, that I don't think he's ultimately going to have the stats to win it. I think right now my Heisman frontrunner is Cam Ward at Miami. I think right now that's who I would probably vote for. Ashton Genty at Boise State's another guy. Jackson Dart at Ole Miss, obviously, he's up there. I think Travis Hunter from Colorado would be my top 4 right now in terms of the Heisman front runners. But, Nico continues to grow. Maybe he can get into that. And I think, honestly, next year might be the year he has a much better shot at the Heisman. But, it would think about, like, right now. We're here at the first bye week. I'm going to say it, this team is as good as I was hoping. Because, you never know, right, heading into a season, how good or bad a team is. You go with I came into the season thinking that this team was pretty good, that they were going to have a chance at making the playoffs. This team has exceeded my expectations so far. And they have done it as well as I realistically could have asked for. And, I saw Colin Cowherd today say that he thinks Tennessee's going to win the national championship. And you see every sports analyst thinks we are a legit title contender. And it's interesting because I feel like this is a different feeling compared to 2022, right? 22 was, oh my gosh, we're experiencing all these things for the first time, and I'm just here for the ride. But now, winning this game specifically, we are here to stay. We are a legit big-time alpha SEC program now.
Because of what the 2022 team could have done, which was winning the big game on the road. Last, 2022, there were 2 big tests on the road, Georgia and South Carolina. Tennessee failed both. And now, if we say there were one-ish tests outside of Neyland Stadium, Tennessee crushed both tests.
Right. Now, that team did win at LSU in Pittsburgh, but the 2 failures were on the road.
Yeah. I say, but I pointed out the 2 big tests on the road. I mean, I know there were some good road wins, but I say 2022, 2 big tests, Georgia, the number one versus number two, and South Carolina, which every Tennessee fan agreed that that game felt like a upset game or a game that Tennessee could have stumbled, which did happen. So this year, NC State could have been the game that Tennessee stumbled, on a neutral side, but more close to NC. Even though there were a lot of Tennessee fans, it was kind of uh, very favorable to NC State. The game was in North Carolina, and Tennessee crushed it. And now going to Norman, Oklahoma, which kind of also there were a lot of expectations because this was the first ever SEC game in the state of Oklahoma. For the Oklahoma Sooners, this was the beginning of the true SEC era for the Oklahoma Sooners, and they got a taste that they're not in the Big 12 anymore. They are in the SEC.
Absolutely. I definitely want to get to Oklahoma here in just a moment. But just circling back to Tennessee at this point, what should be our number one focus here on our bye week as a staff? I think main thing right now is just getting healthy and just continuing to get better where you can, right? I mean, I guess it's a very generic answer, but I mean, I really think it's just mostly getting healthy. That's the main thing. Get healthy and gear up because you're about to have a big stretch here out of the bye week.
Yeah, bye week is more focused on fixing mistakes, of course. Get especially the offensive line, backed up and also healthy, and root for some stumbles, especially with this 12-team playoff. You have to watch out for Ole Miss, go have their first SEC game. Maybe Georgia, Alabama, who's gonna stumble. So it's a lot of see what's gonna be in the other SEC teams.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I do want to shift over, and obviously, before we go into Oklahoma, I just want to shout out Josh Heupel here because you can tell while he still has a lot of love for Oklahoma, he always will and he should because that's his alma mater. But you can tell in the I don't know if you saw the post game locker room speech.
Oh yeah, I saw that was that. Oh my god, that was one of the most emotional locker room speech I have ever saw.
Yeah, and it just shows that this team is truly a unit. They're truly in it for each other, and that doesn't guarantee that Tennessee's going to win a championship this year at all. But it guarantees that these boys are going to fight for each other to the last drop. And I'll be honest, Gus, there were teams that we covered that I don't think we could say the same about. Like, 2017 for 20 teams, I don't think those teams loved each other like this one did.
Oh, yeah. The 2020 team, I remember how much they were, especially that Kentucky game, and Inland Stadium kind of exposed how that team was not a unit like this one.
Exactly. And I'm just glad that Heupel has changed this culture and championship or not, it's a team that I'm proud of, and I think the rest of us who are in Vol Nation can be proud of because it's as a team, and you can see like the fervor. Like I don't know if you saw the scenes from Neyland over the weekend with Morgan Wallen, and of course he walked out on Sunday night with Josh Heupel, Peyton Manning in full uniform, Nico Imialava, Brew McCoy, and of course Friday night he walked out with Tony Vitello and the national championship. And just how excited the team was. I mean, the stadium sounded like it was a football game. It's just a concert. I mean, I know you're not here right now, Gus, but in Tennessee right now, it's a fervor right now that I've never seen for Tennessee football.
And credit where credit is due. So this all started when the University of Tennessee leadership had to make a dramatic change in the athletic department that I remember talking in 2021 that they needed to go outside of SEC tree or even kind of do outside of the box hiring, not be paralyzed of getting the first football coach they see or don't cling on the past. Like as much as Tennessee fans appreciate Philip Fulmer, he had to, you know, move. We had to move on. Pruitt, don't even get me started. How he had to leave, and they got it right with Danny White. That was the hire that changed everything from the Tennessee Athletics.
Absolutely. And our athletic department has never been better because of it. So grateful. And it's going to be I'm going to be sad not being able to watch Tennessee play Saturday. Because, it's funny. Like on college football Saturdays, I watch a lot of these teams. I think a lot of them end up sucking. And I have to sit around thinking, man, I can't wait for Tennessee to play because that's a real team right there. And like the highs and going from like the Vols, like the Titans, man, it's a different it's a wild experience right now for sure. But for every winner, there is a loser, and Oklahoma were huge losers this week. Of course, this was their hyped entrance into the SEC, and I don't think it could have gone any worse for Oklahoma. I mean, it was Oklahoma. We have known them for explosive offenses for years after years after years, and seeing their offense being that inept was shocking. And Jackson Arnold, because remember, one of the storylines heading into last week was Arnold versus Nico. Arnold and Nico were basically 1 and 2 in quarterback rankings. And while Nico is beloved in Knoxville and he is continuing to ascend, Jackson Arnold got benched by the end of the first half because of 3 turnovers. I mean, holy cow. I mean, this is one of the most shocking downfalls I can remember in football.
Yeah, and a lot of heat. I guess Brent Venables now is going to get a lot of heat because of this loss.
Well, what I found is a lot of Oklahoma fans want the OC fired. Seth Luttrell, he used to be the head coach in North Texas, played actually with Heupel at Oklahoma. They want him fired, but not necessarily Venables because they love what Venables is doing with their defense because Oklahoma's defense is awesome now. But the problem is Oklahoma basically switched sides. They used to have an amazing offense, bad defense under Lincoln Riley. Now they have an amazing defense and bad offense under Brent Venables. So for Oklahoma, for some reason, just can't win.
And I guess to succeed in the SEC, you have to figure out your defense.
Yeah, and they got the defense, right? And of course, they switched it out for Michaels Hawkins Jr. And Hawkins, I thought, played decent, especially in the fourth quarter. He's going to be the starter this week at Auburn, which that's gonna be a funny game. And trust me, I'm going to go to Auburn here in just a moment because holy cow, aren't they an absolute disaster? But man, for Arnold, it feels like he's going to have to transfer after this season. And I'll be curious to see who wants it because if you fail at Oklahoma, I know Spencer Rattler was the last quarterback in this situation. He got benched for Caleb Williams. Rattler went to South Carolina. But if you're Oklahoma, right, remember they lost 2 key pieces at the end of last year. They lost their OC, Jeff Levy. He went to Mississippi State to be their head coach where things are not going well there right now, though I really don't blame Levy for that. He just doesn't have anything to work with. And then more importantly, in my opinion, they lost Dillon Gabriel. They were like, okay, Dillon, you can go off to Oregon, be the Ducks quarterback. We've got Jackson Arnold. We believe in him. And that has blown up in their face. They should have done everything in their power to keep Dillon Gabriel in Oklahoma. And I will never understand why they let him walk to Oregon.
Yeah, it was not the best decision, I guess, because, a quarterback position is you have to have a lot of trust. And I guess they put too much trust in a quarterback that is not, I guess, all ready.
Yeah, so tough times on the Plains, but at least for Oklahoma, they get to play a team with an even worse offense than them in Auburn this week because holy cow, Auburn, absolute disaster loss to Arkansas 24-14. I would say they've had 2 disaster losses. They lost to Cal a couple weeks back and they lost to Arkansas last week, both at home and both with multiple turnovers. In both games, they had 4 turnovers a piece in both games, both of these quarterbacks. and Peyton Thorne and Hank Brown have thrown 4 interceptions apiece. And Hugh Freeze went out in the press conference and just blamed everyone but himself. He said, I'm calling good plays. These these guys are open, but these quarterbacks keep on throwing interceptions. I need a quarterback who's not going to throw any interceptions. And people were getting mad at him for that. And then he went on to say that if we played Arkansas 9 more times, we would beat them every single time. It's weird behavior by Hugh Freeze. And I understand he feels like he's just being honest, but like you gotta remember, Hugh Freeze doesn't have the most, clean past, right? He got fired from Ole Miss because he was texting prostitutes on his personal phone. Then he goes to Liberty University, which is a shady institution in its own right. He has, but scandals dating back to his time in high school. He wants to sit up here and, be like, oh, I'm getting no help as the coach. Like, at the end of the day, it's your job. You're the one who brought in these quarterbacks. You're the one who is not scheming these quarterbacks to success. Like, at some point, that falls on you.
Yeah, and Auburn reminds me a lot of Tennessee from the last decade. Auburn right now is like almost the end of the Jeremy Pruitt era. A lot of finger pointing, a lot of confusion. Hugh Freeze kind of remind me of a Jeremy Pruitt hire. Trying to get a guy who had a success in the past, or maybe is connected to someone that has success. But I mean, Auburn was gonna have to look at Tennessee and be like, maybe have to change the entire leadership in the athletics department, maybe to have success in football. Because I know the other sports are important, but in the SEC, football is the number one. I know Auburn in the past few years for example, has a great basketball program, especially under the leadership of Bruce Pearl. But there's gonna have to have deep changes in Auburn Tigers athletics, not only in football, because Auburn has so much failures like Tennessee had until Danny White came along.
Yeah, and obviously Hugh Freeze is a controversial hire. Like, I'll be frank, I was talking to my boss the other day. He's an Auburn grad, and he is just so disgusted by the athletic program right now that he doesn't even want to support them anymore. I mean, that's how bad things are in Auburn right now. That you got alums that don't want anything to do with the football program. And they did this to themselves because they hired a guy like Hugh Freeze, who, let's be real, when you look back at his time at Ole Miss, yeah, he beat Alabama twice. What else did he do?
He failed. He had a great opportunity to make it to the college football playoff, and he missed it.
Exactly. He did nothing. He did nothing with that golden opportunity he had by beating Alabama twice, and he didn't make it to Atlanta at all. So, it's really interesting when you look at his offense. You need a quarterback that can run it, and he didn't go out and get one. Now, it's interesting because it's one of his former quarterbacks, and Bo Wallace tweeted out a bunch of criticisms of him the other night. And I want to see if I can find these because it was really interesting what he tweeted out, because it was super, because it was kind of alarming if it
please, Alexandre. Please, disclaimer: Alexandre Moraes, Nicholas Hill is in the United States, so he has access to Twitter, not me.
Yeah, absolutely. Screw the Brazilian Supreme Court. We're showing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Screw the Brazilian Supreme Court. All right. So, in the land of the free where we still have Twitter, Bo Wallace tweeted out, he claimed that Hugh Freeze, all he did was break my body in half, and I played every game getting a numbing shot just to go get him his money. Then I graduate and can't do anything to benefit him, and he hasn't helped me one time. That's the truth about what Hugh Freeze is. And that's his former star quarterback claiming that Hugh Freeze didn't and that basically he claims that he constantly throws quarterbacks under the bus. And yeah, so, and he just basically asked the question, why is it always someone else's fault when he loses? And then
Yeah.
Hugh Freeze apparently responded to this today by saying that, quote, I am not on social media. I have an account. I don't have it on my phone, so I don't really know everything. It's probably good that I don't. I did tackle Bo and love him as much as I ever have. I wish nothing for the best of him. He's probably the most important recruit I ever had at Ole Miss with that juncture there. I'm really proud of what he did when he was there. He's doing a great job of coaching high school ball. I still love him just like I always have. I'm like, which one? I know that's not true. Hugh Freeze has been a notorious Twitter person over the years. That's definitely not true. So, and plus, this is Hugh Freeze. Why should I believe it? Like, I don't believe Hugh Freeze on that. He's totally on Twitter. He knows what he's saying. So,
I mean, the only justification is like, oh, I'm in Brazil, so I can't access Twitter. Outside of the excuse, like, you know it. Like, you're not living in Brazil or under a rock.
absolutely. And man, whoever loses this Oklahoma Auburn game this week that's going to be a season down the toilet, basically, for whoever loses that game. I mean, man. Whew.
I think it's more for Oklahoma because if you think about it, Auburn came to the season already knew that if they went to a bowl game like Coolio, like great. But for Oklahoma, I mean, they still have a shot making to the playoffs. I mean, because their only loss is going to be to a highly ranked Tennessee. So if
I mean, I don't see them being Texas in 2 weeks. Though is the problem.
Yeah, and they're also going to face Ole Miss on the road, Missouri on the road, and Alabama. So,
and
yeah.
I just don't see it. But I do think Oklahoma wins this game, though. I do. Auburn's as bad as Oklahoma's offense looked, Auburn's is worse. So,
but I think
it comes down to.
But this game can be kind of like the Arkansas win was for. If Auburn wins against Oklahoma, it's going to have the same effect probably of the Arkansas win against Auburn. Can kind of save the job of the head coach because now I don't see it at least this season. Sam Pittman getting fired because looking at their schedule, I'm not saying they're going to the playoffs, but probably I only see it losing like what more maybe 3-4 times. Even though they face 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ranked teams.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly a gauntlet for Arkansas, and of course we'll be talking way more about those guys next week for sure. Of course, that was a huge game for them down in Arlington against Texas A&M. Now, some other quick college football notes. Michigan, USC, that was a really solid football game. First one truly worthy of being the Big Ten on CBS. But man, the way this game ended was just really demoralizing for USC. A 90-yard drive in about 2 minutes, all on the ground. Like Michigan only threw in this game for 32 yards, and USC could not stop them at all. And for Lincoln,
this game remind me a lot of Jim Harbaugh. I think there's still Jim Harbaugh fingerprints on this team.
Oh, for sure. And more importantly, there's Lincoln Riley fingerprints on USC because his defense is soft, unfortunately. And for USC, they're never going to win anything, especially in the Big Ten now, if they don't learn how to play defense.
Yeah, because if they couldn't succeed in the Pac-12, the Big Ten is going to be even more like hard pound football.
Right, and this is the type of thing I was expecting to see when I picked them to go 4-8 in the offseason. And I still could see a scenario where they fall apart because of stuff like what we just saw on Saturday. Because Michigan's probably the worst offense they have left on their schedule. They have Wisconsin this week, who I think they will beat, but man, it was a bad look for USC. But they still have a lot of football left to play. But speaking of someone who's done, Mac Brown, man, North Carolina, what are you doing? James Madison dropped 70 in Chapel Hill, including 53 in the first half. I mean, this was shocking to watch, Gus. I mean, I watched this game on the ACC network, and it was just an outright disaster. A
Like,
disaster.
first of all, what a statement win for James Madison, who, you know, came to the FBS and is showing that they deserve to be there.
Absolutely. And they're firmly now in the playoff conversation. Remember, one of those G5 teams has got to be in the playoff. And the team, and I'm going to talk about this here in a little bit, the team that I thought was going to be in that G5 conversation now is imploding. So now someone else has got to take the place of the UNLV Rebels. And James Madison might be that team that's right after them.
How crazy for James Madison that they probably going to be the only team ever to play in the FCS playoffs and the FBS playoffs.
I mean, it would be amazing. I mean, it really would. Alonzo Barrett or Barnett the third. He's their quarterback. Man, that dude is awesome. I played him actually on a season of CFB 25, but seeing him in real life like that, it's just awesome to see. He's just as good in real life as he is on the video game. So, absolutely love to see a shout out to the Duke. Shout out to a friend of mine named Jordan. He's a JMU alum. I used to work with him here in Chattanooga. So I know he was very excited after that. But man, North Carolina, kind of like Auburn, got to reset. I mean, Mac Brown, obviously a legendary coach, but man, the game has passed him by. And the rumor was he offered to resign at halftime to the team. That's how bad this apparently is.
I mean, I guess it's rumors, right? It was confirmed or not?
Yeah. Well, he came out and denied it. So, I mean, I doubt he walked in. Could you imagine him walking in, looking at those guys and saying, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving. I mean, Spurrier kind of did that at South Carolina.
But you can't do that. Like a legendary coach, because then you're gonna put on a stain on your legacy. Like, I mean, if probably at the end of the season maybe he'll retire or North Carolina will say, okay, we're gonna have to let you go, but you have to finish the season now. I can't see quitting.
Yeah, if I were him, I'd come out and say, look, I'm retiring at the end of the season. I'm going to allow UNC to start a search to find my replacement, and I'm going to lead this team for the rest of the year. That's what I would do. That's what he should do, and I think that would be the best interest of both parties so UNC can go ahead and start finding their next coach.
And it's sad because it was a promising duo, a successful head coach that won a national title with a big brand, came to Chapel Hill to kind of, bring this football program that was overshadowed by a basketball program that has been successful in the past 50 years. And he got a really good player, Drake May, but if you think about it, his talent was a little bit wasted there.
Oh, absolutely. Remember Mac Brown before he went to Texas was at North Carolina, so he's done two different stints there, and just really hasn't done a lot in either stint, to be real. Like, it doesn't have any championships. Never could beat Florida State. So it's a different. It's just a difficult situation, but it's time. It's time for North Carolina to make a change. They will certainly are going to have a new coach, and they play a big rivalry game this week against Duke. So, man, things could get ugly. Duke actually looks pretty good. They're undefeated. They're under first-year head coach Manny Diaz and have former Texas quarterback Malik Murphy under center. So, I wouldn't be shocked if the Blue Devils win that game to go to 5-0. And it's hilarious considering their former quarterback went to Notre Dame and it has a loss.
And being undefeated in the ACC, I don't know. I mean, again, whoever wins the conference now goes to the college football playoff. Unlike last year, this year, the winner of the ACC goes to the playoffs.
See, I'll say this though. I think this year's Miami, that would have not happened to this year's Miami last year, because Miami is actually like fun to watch.
Yeah,
but that's what it is. But as those things seem to change, One thing that doesn't change is Nebraska losing close, big games. I mean, on Friday night, this was just maddening. Like, I don't know how Nebraska does it. Every single year, they get into these tight, close games, and they just find a way to lose. It's like it's baked into their culture now. It's baked into their mindset. They just find a way to lose. They have a stupid turnover or a stupid call. In overtime, they had a 3rd and 42 because of penalties and a fumble. And it's just a loser program mentality. And I think for Nebraska, go ahead.
And this loss was so hard that Nebraska's AD Troy Damon said yesterday that he sent a letter to the Big Ten commissioner Tom Petty requesting Nebraska to no longer host Friday night games other than the traditional Black Friday contest against Iowa.
Wow.
That's
nuts.
That's so like kind of loser mentality.
Exactly. Like Nebraska used to be a blue blood. They used to be a team that knew they were on top of the sport. See, Tennessee is getting back to this point where we're like Saturday, like I felt so relaxed and so calm watching us play Oklahoma because I'm like, okay, we belong at number 6. That number belongs next to our name. We belong in this game, and we should go out there and win this game. And we went out there and won that game. So Tennessee, in my mind now, is a team that should go out there and win any game they play. Nebraska is nowhere close to that mentality. Nebraska and Tennessee have gone on 2 very divergent paths in the woods. You know, I think it's a Robert Frost poem. You know, you walk to a path in the woods and you got to go left or you got to go right. I forget. I think we took 2 different paths.
Or kind of like the meme scene on Fast and Furious, the end of the scene where Toretto goes one way and Ryan goes the other one. That's what happened in Tennessee, Nebraska.
Yeah, and Nebraska should get to a bowl game, right? Because Dylan Raiola is an exciting young quarterback. I mean, some of the throws he was making were incredible. Like, he really does remind me of a young Mahomes because he emulates Mahomes so much. Now, I'm not saying he's nowhere as good as Mahomes, but he at least is trying to emulate that play style. So, you know, we'll see, right? And Matt Rhule, we know, is a really good college football coach. So I think Nebraska is eventually going to get there, but they got to get out of their own heads. Like Nebraska, you have a really good football team. You can beat most teams that you play. Go out there and just play football. And don't get – and it feels like when they get into a tight game or get a slight lead, they panic and they go into their own shell and they let Illinois win that game. And Illinois is a good team. But, man, Nebraska should have won that.
And it was the first big test this season for Matt Rhule. So, you know.
Yeah, because I hope that you know, after the way they played against Colorado, that they show that they would be able to handle this, but apparently not. So, just a really bad loss. Now, some other brief reactions I have. Shout out to BYU, absolutely crushing Kansas State. Crushing them 38-9. And this really all their points came in like a 7-minute time period of the end of the second quarter, beginning of the third. There were some turnovers, a punt return. I mean, things just went south for Kansas State. And to me, this was a really bad loss for KSU because I had them winning the Big 12. But right now, I think Utah's going to take that over after they beat Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's a really bad team. I think Kansas State will beat them this week and effectively eliminate them from the playoff race. So it's going to be interesting to watch the Big 12 unfold this year. NC State, man, I don't know what's happening here with Dave Doreen's team. They just stink. I mean, Clemson boat raced them as well, as much as Tennessee did. So it's just a bad season for NC State. And they play Northern Illinois this week. So that could be a really interesting game, although Northern Illinois disappointed me by losing to Buffalo at home. So that basically ended any playoff chances they had. Because if Northern Illinois went undefeated with the win at Notre Dame, Northern Illinois was going to have a chance at that G5 playoff spot, and they just straight up squandered it. So just a really, really bad loss for the Huskies. And also Memphis losing on the road at Navy 56-44. I mean, the Tigers had dreams of making the playoffs. They thought they would be one of the favorites to make the playoffs. Not if you're going to give up 60 points today. So Memphis, you know, once upon a time, they tried to claim they were the best program in Tennessee.
Not anymore.
Nope, they're not even remotely close. So really bad loss. Also, shout out to San Jose State and Washington State. This game was amazing. I stayed up till 2 a.m. on Friday night watching this on the CW. Just an incredible game. Went to double overtime. Washington State won 54-52. Just look at the highlights on this one. This was a wild back and forth finish that the Cougars were able to, get the dub on. And also Missouri. Why are you going to double overtime with Vanderbilt? Like, what's going on with Eli Drinkwitz here? The team here. They do not seem like a top 10 team at all. And they seem like a team right now that's going to lose 2 or 3 games and not make the playoffs. To me, like they stink. Yeah.
One
So that's all. Go ahead.
one notable mention I want to say, it was I called the bottom of the SEC Bowl between Florida and Mississippi State. And I guess Florida got the win. And the question I have to you, Nick, is can this win at least give some breathing time or give some hope for Florida's head coach?
No, because Mississippi State is just that bad. And that's the truth of the matter. Mississippi State is they might be the worst, one of the worst SEC teams I've ever seen. They are as bad as some of the worst Vanderbilt teams. I mean, that's just point blank. I mean, I think most G5 teams could beat Mississippi State. I think some FCS teams could beat Mississippi State. And Mississippi State looked horrid in this game because Mississippi State is bad. They are just that bad. So, yeah. So, I'll see what they can do. The real, like Billy Napier's last chance, frankly, is UCF in 2 weeks. Next week. Like, if Florida loses to UCF, Napier probably is not coming to Knoxville. So, that's just my opinion on the matter. This is basically, I think, next week a do-or-die game for Florida.
Oh, yeah. But it gave a little hope. That's like a little kind of, like at least, because if they were to lose to Mississippi State, then it was going to be a really, really high pressure.
Oh, absolutely. All right. So moving forward to this week, what do we think are some potential upset alerts in this week's slates? Because I think there are some interesting matchups. Yeah, I kind of referenced one in Northern Illinois, NC State. Even though Northern Illinois lost to Buffalo this past week, I still think that's an even matchup. And I don't know how much of an upset this would really even be at this point. That's only a 6.5-point line in that game.
My upset alert is Auburn beating Oklahoma.
Oh, that would put Brent Venables in a really uncomfortable position. Also, one thing I wanted to shout out real quick that I forgot to mention. TCU might be the most clown program of the week. Why? Because they were making fun of their game being on the CW against SMU because they were clowning their rival for being in the ACC. And then they proceeded to lose 66-42 on the CW. And then the CW and SMU and the ACC all clown TCU. So the biggest clown program goes to TCU.
The lesson is don't make the fun of even the TV channel the game is on until the end. The game is over.
Exactly. So, yeah, TCU irrelevant for the rest of the year. Now, in terms of an upset alert, give me Mississippi State over Texas. I'm just kidding. That one's not going to happen.
Yeah, I was going to be like, not even the most diehard Mississippi State fan is going to be like, we're going to Austin and we're beating Texas Longhorn, like the number 1 team in the country. Like, no way.
Yeah, 38.5-point spread there. Man. But in terms of an actual upset, though.
And I guess this is the first SEC game for Texas, too.
Texas got definitely the nicer end of that stick versus Oklahoma. Because Oklahoma got one of the best teams in the SEC, and Texas got by far the worst team in the SEC. So, Anyway, in terms of an upset pick as an Illinois NC State, I really like Western Kentucky at Boston College. Boston College had an emotional win last week in the red bandana game. This is a noon game, and Western Kentucky is known for their offensive firepower. Um, so I kind of like that game. Now, in terms of an underrated matchup, to me, Friday night, Washington at Rutgers. Just because Rutgers is actually a really good football team, solid defensively. Greg Schiano, who once upon a time we ran off at Knoxville, doing a decent job at Rutgers. Now, let me clarify this. Just because he's good at Rutgers doesn't mean he would be good at Tennessee. He's good at Rutgers because that's a program that you can take several years to rebuild because it's Rutgers and no one cares. He would have not gotten the same time here in Tennessee. So I think he is where he should belong, but he's doing a good job at Rutgers. And if Rutgers beats Washington this week, don't be surprised if they're ranked next week.
Yeah, they won their first ever Big Ten game against Northwestern. They're going to their first road game on the Big 12, and they got a good end of the stick, like kind of like Texas. Got two kind of less hard programs.
Absolutely. Also, UCF is going to get a big spot here this week too, hosting Colorado. UCF too should be ranked. I think UCF could be a sneaky contender for the Big 12, and I think they're going to show it this week against the Colorado team that they should run all over.
Yeah, and even fans acknowledge it's going to be a big game. Tickets going for $122. So definitely a lot of excitement in Orlando.
Exactly. Just hope they don't sustain any damage from the from Hurricane Helene. Now, the best bet of the week. I already bet this actually. Under 46 in Oklahoma Auburn. I don't think other teams making it to 20. I think this under is going to hit with ease.
Oh yeah, I don't see any. It's going to be a low scoring game for sure. I see Auburn winning, kind of like more like a heart pound football, kind of like what Tennessee did. A lot of running game.
Oh, for sure. All right, so let's pick these 5 games with maybe a little bit of commentary at the end. All right, Washington State at Boise State. I think this is one of the big 5 games of the week because I think this has huge implications for the G5 playoff.
Give me Boise State.
I agree. Boise State at home. Washington State is going to run wild. And Washington State just has a note. So they are undefeated right now. For them to make the playoffs, they would have to finish in the top 12 because they can't really win a conference because the Pac-12 doesn't really exist right now. So they're, for all intents and purposes, they're like Notre Dame, basically. They're an independent. If they were to finish undefeated, they would have to be ranked in the top 12. So that's how that would work.
Speaking of real quick in the Pac-12, did you saw that the Pac-12 was trying to lure in some AAC programs, and now there was a statement saying like we are closed, we are not leaving. I think one of them was Memphis.
Yeah, and I don't understand why Memphis, Tulane, or South Florida would go to the Pac-12. I mean, the Pac-12, look, I get the name and the history behind it, but like the AAC is the better conference right now because the Pac-12 doesn't exist. The Pac-12 should just fold, and the Oregon State and Washington State should just go to the Mountain West. So that's what they are now.
But they're trying to become the Mountain West with brand because they got some programs right to join in the next.
Boise State, Fresno State, they got San Diego State. I think they've got Utah State as well.
Yeah, so they're trying to get this mid-tier programs and make your conference at least survive. But it's going to be a Mountain West with a bigger, like, good with a great past.
Yeah, but like Air Force, UNLV won't move. Hawaii doesn't appear like they're going to move either. So it's just a really bad situation because they're going to have to merge. Like there is no, like they can try to separate each other, but either all those teams are going to have to go under the Pac-12 brand or the Mountain West brand, and there's no in between.
Yeah, both. Yeah, both are going to have to sit down and see, are we merging and keeping the name Pac-12 because of all the kind of past and name recognition and the brand, or are we forming then a Mountain West division and then another like I don't know, but they're gonna have to think about something.
Yeah, but I just feel like Boise State, though, missed the boat several years ago. Because remember, Boise State had a lot of momentum in the late 2000s, early 2010s. They should have jumped to a power conference then. Because remember, TCU did the exact same thing, and TCU in the Big 12 has made a national title game. Boise State hasn't gotten close. So I think the Broncos have screwed themselves in this whole deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, over to Manhattan, Kansas, and what, in my opinion, is an elimination game because whoever loses this game will have a second Big 12 loss. I don't think they're getting an at-large bid to the playoffs. So, Oklahoma State at Kansas State.
Give me the Cowboys.
I am going to go with the Wildcats. I like Kansas State. I think Oklahoma State, they can't run the ball. I mean, Ollie Gordon had 10 carries for 24 yards against Utah. And Ollie Gordon's supposed to be the best running back in America. Just not Oklahoma State's a mess and a disaster. Now, huge game here, especially for our friend Jason Wyrick. Louisville going on the road to Notre Dame. And a rematch from last year where Louisville won. They stormed the field. It was a great night for the Cardinals. Can Notre Dame get revenge in this game?
And for Notre Dame, is even huger. Is even more huge because if they lose, they're 100% out of the playoffs.
Yeah, because I think they should be out right now. But let's be real, sports writers, they'll keep them in as long as they possibly can. But Louisville, please eliminate Notre Dame, make their season completely irrelevant, and make them realize they need to join a conference. So I'm rooting for the Cardinals. And frankly, I think Louisville's just a better team. Give me the Cards.
Yeah, and it'll be their second, if they were to lose, their second consecutive home loss.
Yeah. Well, they did beat Miami of Ohio at home last week, so it'd be their second out of third.
Yeah.
So big game here in the Big Ten. Illinois traveling to Penn State. Of course, Illinois coming off a huge win in Nebraska. Can they pull off another big win? I think about how huge this win would be for Illinois if they pulled it off.
And they are undefeated, so they are, especially in the Big Ten, they are undefeated. So it's a lot of implications. But give me Penn State.
Yeah, I agree. This isn't Ohio State or Michigan, so Penn State will actually win this game. Just to say the least. And I think they'll win by at least 2 to 3 scores. I think Penn State's defense will dominate. Now, I do want to talk more about this next game than just we would normally would because it's Georgia and Alabama, right? I mean, it's the two titans of college football, at least as of now, right? And this game in Tuscaloosa, of course, this is a rematch of last year's SEC championship game where Bama took out Georgia. That was Nick Saban's last win. And Kirby Smart finished 1-5 versus Nick Saban. Remember, Kirby Smart and Josh Heupel have the same amount of wins against Nick Saban. The more you know. But
yeah, but Kirby Smart win was more important. Let's be honest. Like,
it was. Now, our win over Bama felt like a national title to me, but I know it wasn't actually the national title. But who needs this game more, right? Because we got Kalen DeBoer. This is his first year at Alabama. Now, this is his first really big game as the Alabama head coach, and it's going to be at home at 9 on prime time, college game day, the whole world watching. But Kirby Smart, he's 1-5 versus Alabama. The narrative is out there. Was it just Nick Saban you struggled against, or is it something to do with Alabama? I mean, how big is this game for Kirby?
Or the question is, the issue is where they play, because if Georgia would have to win, then the only losses against Alabama would have been in Atlanta. So outside of Atlanta,
they did lose in Tuscaloosa in 2020 during COVID.
I guess that season was so mad that I even forgot they play each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there was much worth remembering from that. It was a blowout loss, actually. Georgia lost by 23. But, yeah, I think Kirby needs this one bad. He definitely needs this one because Georgia is so dominant, but, like, Bama is their kryptonite and has been. And And if Georgia loses here, especially, and think about this, think about all the questions right now about the Georgia football program, right? They lose last year, and you could argue they lost because it was a battle on the line of scrimmage / bad offensive play calling. Plus all the arrests. All it seems, people argue that this program is out of control. And if you go on the road and lose to Alabama with a new coach in his first year, and think about this: Georgia still has to go to Texas, still go to Ole Miss. They host Tennessee. Like Georgia could be in a really tough position the rest of the season if they lose this game, more so than Bama. So this game is absolutely huge for Georgia. I do think they're going to play better than what we saw at Kentucky because I just think Georgia is a much better team than what we saw. But at the same time, man, I'm not going to pick against Bama here. I really think Bama actually is going to find a way to get this done.
For me, it's going to be definitely when that is going to show that Georgia's for real. Give me the Bulldogs.
Yeah, that's actually be a phenomenal game. And I'm just going to be sad I can't watch Tennessee on Saturday. But hey, at least I get to watch, my two main rivals fight it out, which will be very interesting. Now, one last college football note that isn't as fun. UNLV is just in a midst of a debacle. Both their starting quarterback and starting running back have left the team over NIL disputes because apparently the team had promised them, or someone associated with the team had promised them money, and they refused to follow through on it. So now they're just leaving. They're entering the portal. They're redshirting. And this is insane to see this happening in real time. But, I mean, in my opinion, if you promise someone you're going to pay them something and they don't pay you, you should leave because that's what you were promised to go there for. So I don't really have a problem with this like a lot of other people do.
I think the bigger issue is, Nick, is that now college football, college athletics, but more so in football, the main resources for your program to get players are not within your control. You depend on someone else. Like, for example, Florida, why their NIL is in the mess? Because of a third party that didn't follow through. Now the same thing with the UNLV. So that's I think the big issue for me, and I was gonna face it, is that unlike pro sports where all the money comes from your team, like all the players, for example, from the Tennessee Titans got paid through the team. There was no outside sponsorship or NIL collective.
Yeah,
Like
frankly, some of them should have had their checks revoked this past week, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. In Brazil, we have feeling too, especially when you don't do so well. Mm, but do you understand the kind of mess college football, but more college athletics, but more college football is facing with the NIL? Is that the programs definitely don't have control over the way players get paid, more so they're really kind of like uh, they don't have control over uh, personnel anymore.
Exactly. And it's literally running a football team without a GM. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. Like, for example, Adrian Wojnarowski, the ESPN NBA insider, he just retired to become the GM at St. Bonaventure. So, like, literally, we're seeing college basketball teams now bring in GMs who are not coaches just to bring in talent. And this is what we're going to have to eventually see in college football because it's going to be too much for one person to handle. And I think at some point, it's probably going to have to be through legislation, probably, to make these colleges just pay these players. That way, so we're not doing all this stupid NIL stuff and actually have a salary cap. And,
The problem is not salary cap, Nick. Is that then, like, you're like, okay, like you want to do a NIL deal, fine. Like a lot of players do have personal sponsorships, like, but you cannot rely solely on sponsorship money outside of your program to get connected to the program. What I'm saying is that there's gonna have a time where universities are gonna have to pay players, and then you cannot, and then you have control again, because right now is the Wild West.
Exactly. And I just want to know, like, are these deals being made with like actual contracts? Or are these just verbal agreements? Like, because it seems like there's a lot of just verbal agreements going on. And like literally you can write it on a napkin and it'd be a binding contract. That's a literal case that happened back in the 50s in Virginia. But it, it just this whole thing is just insane. Like we need standards for this, and that's I just wonder how long we're gonna take to get to standards.
And that's the proof why the National Collegiate Association has to unfold, because that's on their hands, because they control with iron fist the way players got rewarded with the claim that they were amateurs, which was BS, because you know what happened behind closed doors. And now they're washing their hands and say, okay, fine, you guys win, we can't control this kind of payments, so now we're gonna let things happen freely. and
Right. Because
and
they don't see the athletes as employees that should be paid. I mean,
yeah,
that's why they tried to come after Tennessee a few months ago. And basically, now they have no power because they tried to come after Tennessee.
yeah, yeah. So
So
what
I'll be
what
very interested to see who comes in to regulate all this.
and I think it's gonna have, the commissioners are gonna have to step in at the end of the day, like Greg Shanky and all those commissioners are gonna, especially the big four, are going to have to sit down and be like, we need to have our own guidelines for NIL. We cannot wait for the NCAA to set those standards. We have to set those standards because we control the sport, not the NCAA anymore.
Yeah, the only problem with that though is what stops for crazy billionaire at like Toledo from being like, okay, now I don't have any rules, but like Ohio State does, so I'm going to go and outbid Ohio State. For like
I
NIL, like
know.
that could be
I
the
know.
problem. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens from here, but it's really sucks for UNLV because I thought had a great shot at making the playoffs, uh, but that's gone. So it's unfortunate, and you have to wonder: is this going to really disproportionately affect G5 teams, especially? So very interesting times indeed. Now, moving over to a league where players do get paid, no matter how good or bad they play. Excuse me. The NFL, and as I joked about a few minutes ago, the Tennessee Titans are it's just gross. I think it's only worse. And I've made up this point before, maybe a couple of years ago. When the Vols are really, really good, it becomes near impossible for me to accept a bad Titans team because, like, I'm not going to let the Titans take down my joy of the Vols. I'm just not. And that's where I kind of am with the Tennessee Titans right now because these guys are so miserable to watch right now because the offense is putrid. The defense is not really, the defense is not as good as I thought they were, especially letting Malik Willis come in and dog walk you in your own stadium.
It felt like a revenge game.
As it should. And like Malik Willis should have enjoyed every single second of that, and I hope he did. Because clearly now seeing that game, what happened here in Nashville was not on Malik Willis. Malik Willis clearly was capable all along. He just needed the right coaching. And Tennessee did not have the right coaching at all, or the right people in the front office. That this organization from top to bottom is an absolute clown show and a disaster. I mean, to choose Will Levis over Hendon Hooker and to see Will Levis go out week after week and make stupid decision after stupid decision, costing us these games, to go out and trade for a Tony Pollard that had 6 carries for 14 yards. the whole organization just needs to be right from the inside out. Basically, I'm at the point now where I am at sell the team territory for the Adams family, because at some point it goes all the way to the top, right? And I feel like this owner doesn't know what they're doing.
Definitely a lot of revolt in Nashville. And right, so like Malik Willis came to Nissan Stadium and had a great performance. So this game exposed, I think, the Titans, because not only the quarterback you highly drafted playing terribly, the quarterback that you ran out the stadium and is being a backup in Green Bay dominated you.
Yeah. And then also, I think what also makes it worse is when you look at the home crowd, most of it was green. This was a Packers home game in Nashville.
A lot of probably Wisconsin natives took that opportunity to enjoy the great city of Nashville, especially Saturday night, and left with even more fun.
Yeah, and that's really what that's what the Titans exist for right now, is to give our opposing fans a good time as they come down to a great city and to a great state. We're getting a lot of great tourism money because of it, so that's a
Yeah,
good thing. I hope that
yeah,
funds better roads here in the great state of Tennessee, because that's the only benefit we get from this stupid franchise.
and it's the second consecutive home loss. The Jet fans also came to Nashville and it had a great weekend too.
Yeah, I encourage every fan base, come to Nashville, have a great time. There's going to be a lot of tickets available, because I'm not going up there. Y'all can go up there and have a great time, because all I care about is 3 hours to the east on I-40. That's all I care about. Because screw the Titans until they get themselves a new quarterback, a new GM. Because I want the GM fired of Ren Carfon. He's the one who drafted Will Levis over Hendon Hooker, and it's been proven to be an absolutely stupid decision. I want him gone. Callahan, I'm not out on him yet. I would like to see him with a more competent team before I'm completely out on him. But, I haven't been blown away with what I've seen from Brian Callahan either. So, yeah, things are not good in Nashville right now.
Yeah, and uh, how many wins do you think Tennessee Titans can have?
Well, I thought the Carolina Panthers were going to 0-17, but seeing their performance this past week, they're going to get a win somewhere, right? I mean, they're probably going to finish like 3-14, something like that. They'll get some wins somewhere, but they could win this week at Miami, because Miami's also a disaster. But I don't know. It just sucks. Like, I hate that, like, as excited as the Vols are, the Titans are as equally awful. But, if I had to choose, I would choose to sacrifice the Titans for the Vols, and it is what it is. So, because, back when the Vols stunk, the Titans were pretty good, and I'm having infinitely more fun with this particular way. So, maybe someday I'll have both of them be good at the same time. It would be awesome. But
kind of like the late '90s. Imagine the late '90s. That was what.
That would have been amazing.
I guess you envy a lot of the late '90s Tennessee football fans, not only the Titans and the Vols.
Right. Well, maybe I envy them a little less, because the Vols are awesome right now. So, in any case, go Vols is all I can say to that. Man, imagine being a Titans and Vanderbilt fan. God. In the city of Nashville. That would be a brutal combo. But, a fan base that does have hope right now is the Washington Commanders, because, man, Jaden Daniels looks like the real deal. He absolutely lit up Cincinnati on Monday Night Football, winning 38-26. And to me, he's outplaying Caleb Williams easily for the first 3 weeks of the season. did the Bears make a mistake choosing Caleb Williams over Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, and also another question is, are these Commanders for real? Because it looked like they're gonna have a true shot at the NFC East. Currently, they're leading the division, but do you really trust the Eagles right now?
Well, I mean, they had a really gutsy win in New Orleans. A very gutsy win in New Orleans. And they should be free, I know, if they weren't being stupid at the end of the Atlanta game. Remember, they had a really impressive win against Green Bay down in Brazil. They should have beaten Atlanta, but they let that one get away from them. And then they had to come from behind to win in New Orleans. So, to me, I still think the Eagles are going to look the best team because, man, the Cowboys are an absolute disaster right now, especially on the defensive side, which is crazy to think about. And offensively, too, the Cowboys they're just not good across the board. And of course, the Giants are the Giants. Like we don't need to really belabor the point with the New York Giants. The Malik Neighbors is awesome, and they did win this past week. So, shout out to the New York Football Giants. But man, Washington is fun, man. That was so much fun watching Jane Daniels. He looks like, I mean, this is his third game ever in the NFL, and he looks like a more polished Lamar Jackson to me. So, but I'm going to say this. I'm not going to say the Bears have made a mistake because the Bears' offensive line situation is atrocious, and I don't think we're going to truly see Caleb Williams yet being able to truly be efficient. And Caleb Williams played, I thought, better this past week at Indianapolis despite the loss. So I think Caleb Williams is going to get there. His O-line situation is not good in Chicago. Also, the Cincinnati Bengals, man, 0-3, and their defense looks non-existent. A team that I had, winning the AFC North. Not a good look.
Should Zach Taylor be worried about his job?
Potentially, if things continue to go further downhill. I mean, because if you're the Bengals, you can't waste Joe Burrow, right? So, if they feel like they're going to make a change, I think they're going to make a change. So, we'll see what happens there. Also, Vikings, man, 3-0. They demolished the Houston Texans. Sam Darnold looks incredible. Got a little bit banged up, but he should be all right for week 4. The Vikings look for real.
And now the question is, how good of a choice was to let go of Kirk Cousins and getting Sam Darnold?
Right, and they still have J.J. McCarthy, who is injured for this entire year. And what do you do with him? What if Sam Darnold is your quarterback for the next 10 years? What do you do with J.J. McCarthy?
But J.J. McCarthy came in the expectation of, maybe he'll develop into a good quarterback, but he did not came to save the franchise. That was never the case. I think there's a big difference, for example, of Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams came to save the Bears. J.J. McCarthy was like, okay, let's get this guy. He won a national title under a really good head coach. Let's see if he can be as reliable as he was in college, but no expectations.
Right, and it shows the difference between these different franchises, how much better the Vikings are ranked compared to like the Bears. The Broncos, they threw Bo Nix out there, though Bo Nix is actually playing pretty well, given the expectations. But they went down and blew out Tampa the other day, which was really shocking to me. So, but I think it also comes back to Kevin O'Connell being just a great coach and being able to work with what he's got. So, man, Minnesota. Really, really fun team. They play Green Bay this week. Also, I just want to shout, even though his team lost, Jawan Jennings with 3 touchdown catches this week, being the wide receiver 1 for San Francisco. Man, that was a lot of fun. I'm so glad Jawan Jennings is getting his opportunity to be the guy.
Yeah, definitely. He deserves to be the guy.
Absolutely. He shows that he has everything he's able to do. To be able to do it. Now, let's look at this week's Week 4 game starting tomorrow. Technically tonight. It's 12:10 a.m. here in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Here's 1 a.m.
Yeah. So tonight, stop if you've ever seen this game in primetime before. Cowboys at Giants.
Ah, did you saw the altercation between uh Dak Prescott and I think with his teammate?
Yeah. And of course,
So
CD Lamb came out and claimed that, like, oh, it's all good. There's nothing wrong here. No, the Dallas Cowboys are a train wreck and a disaster. They're not waiting to the playoffs this year to show it.
let's be real, and I don't mean this on a bad way, and of course, I don't hope anybody to go. As important as Jerry Jones was to the city of Dallas, to the state of Texas, he won a lot of Super Bowls. But let's be real, as long as he continues to run the Cowboys like he's the GM and owner, the Cowboys are going to be the same thing over and over again. And what is the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over again.
And it's expecting different results. And there's never going to be a different result.
Yeah. But I will say this. I do think they win tonight against the Giants.
Yeah, for at least for this game, I guess Mike McCarthy, I guess, can do a better job than Brian Dable and has better pieces. But overall, definitely Dallas is going to be the what is the opposite of the most improved team?
They're keeping course.
Yeah.
They're keeping the course. All right. So Sunday, 1 p.m. a rivalry game in the NFC South. The New Orleans Saints travel to the Atlanta Falcons.
I think this game is for the division. I think whoever wins this game controls their destiny in the NFC South. Give me the Saints because I'm all for Derek Carr, especially yesterday. It completed 8 years of our legendary meeting, so I'm all Derek Carr. Give me Saints.
I'm going to actually favor you here. I think the Falcons are going to get it done at home in Atlanta, and I kind of disagree with that. I still think the Bucks are going to play a part in the NFC South race. All right. We've got the Los Angeles Rams come off their first win of the season, going to the Chicago Bears.
And what I said last week, like how can Kyle Shanahan really cannot beat Sean McVay? How?
With all the injuries, too. He doesn't have Puka Nacua
Yeah,
or Cooper Kupp.
yeah,
Yeah, but even then, Sean McVay is just that good of a coach, and he'll find a way to beat the Chicago Bears.
definitely. Give me the Rams.
And the Bears are 3-point favorites in this game. I might have to bet Los Angeles.
Yeah,
I might have to go bet Los Angeles. So that seems like free money. Okay. We got the Vikings going to the Bears in an NFC North showdown.
Also, this game has hugely division implications. Give me the Vikings.
I think with Jordan Love likely back this week, give me the Packers.
Yeah,
definitely.
If Jordan Love came back, definitely it hugely increases the chances of the Packers to win.
Yeah. Now, in Indianapolis, we have the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers going to the Colts.
Oh, the Pittsburgh Steelers. It reminds me a lot of the 2020 streak where they stay undefeated, I think, up until week 11. But if you look at the numbers, like Justin Fields only throw for 2 touchdowns and 518 yards. Those are really low numbers, especially for an undefeated team and the only team above 500 in the AAFC North.
Yeah. And I'll say this, Colts fans, like obviously I know several of them, they're very low on their team right now. They sound like me talking about the Titans. They are very low on their team. They're low on Anthony Richardson, low on Shane Steichen. I'm going to be honest, I like the Steelers to win here.
Yeah, give me the Pittsburgh Steelers too.
All right, in the Meadowlands, we have the 1-2 Denver Broncos, the 2-1 New York Jets.
And how about Aaron Rodgers? Getting two really big wins, and I think he's gonna go for a third one. Give me the Jets.
Yep, I agree. He's starting to look like his old self. Now we have Eagles at Bucks.
Yeah, I don't know how much the hurricane is gonna affect this game, but give me the Buccaneers.
Yeah, the Hurricane should be long gone by then. It'll just depend on what damage is left over. But I think Tampa, they'll have some damage, but I don't think it's going to be too bad there. The worst of it's going to be to the north of Tampa.
Isn't this a rematch of last year's playoff? Or even the year before that?
It is last year because the Eagles went down to Tampa and got absolutely crushed.
Yeah, that's what I thought so.
Yeah, the Bucs had a really inexplicable loss last week to the Broncos, but I don't think they're going to let that happen again. Give me the Bucs. Now, the next game here is super interesting. The 0-3 Cincinnati Bengals going to their former quarterback, Andy Dalton, led Carolina Panthers, who got a win last week. Can Carolina get back to 500?
And how ironic that Andy Dalton, who was a shining promise in Cincinnati, but didn't got the job done like Joe Burrow is doing, facing his old team in Charlotte, and it looked like the Panthers are not that bad after all. Maybe Bryce Young is dealing with a lot of stuff off the field that is detrimenting his play.
Yeah, it was a really bad look for Bryce Young. And like, if you're another team and you're in need for a quarterback, why would you go after Bryce Young over a bunch of other options?
Yeah.
So, all things given, that trade is going to be an absolute loss for the Carolina Panthers. And I think this will be a loss too. I still think Cincinnati's a better team. I think they'll find a way to get their first win of the year.
Give me the Panthers.
Ooh, man. Wow. Cincinnati starting 0-4 would be really bad, especially with a loss to Carolina. That might get Zach Taylor fired in the middle of the year. All right. Now, the 0-3 Jacksonville Jaguars, I think either Jacksonville or Tennessee are the worst team in the league. It's got to be one of those two. Because Jacksonville is bad. They got absolutely destroyed by Buffalo on Monday Night Football. Going to the 2-1 Houston Texans, who got blown out themselves at Minnesota. I think Houston will use it as the get-right game, and they'll win.
I agree. Give me the Texans.
Yeah. Now, a game that is going to be exciting. We've got Jaden Daniels in Washington heading to Kyler Murray's Arizona Cardinals. This is going to be a fun one right here. I like Arizona, though, to win.
Give me the Cardinals.
Yeah. High scoring, though. Take the over. All right. And a game that you probably should take the under in, though. 1-2 New England Patriots at the 1-2 San Francisco 49ers. I do think the Niners will get this one done.
Yeah, I think they're going to bounce back. But it was a very crushing loss for the Patriots. Went overtime and lost.
Yeah.
But give me the 49ers.
All right, next up, we got two teams that are really reeling right now. 1-2 Cleveland at 1-2 Las Vegas Raiders. I think Cleveland needs to bench Deshaun Watson for Jameis Winston. I don't know when they're going to do that, if they're going to do that, but they should. But I still think the Bears are a better team than the Raiders. Give me the Browns.
Give me the Browns.
All right, and in the main 425 game, we got the Kansas City Chiefs 3-0, somehow surviving, not losing somehow, even though they have had plenty of chances to lose in each one of their first three games, going to the 2-1 Los Angeles Chargers. The Chiefs own this series in recent years, and even with Harbaugh in the mix now, I still think the Chiefs are going to get it done.
Give me the Chargers. They're getting better every week.
Ooh, that would be a huge statement win for the Los Angeles Chargers. All right, Sunday Night Football. This one's going to be entertaining. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills going to Baltimore to take on Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
I mean, they have to win this game. I know they played really well last week against the Cowboys, especially finally Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson are starting to click, but they're gonna have to click in those big time games. And give me the Baltimore Ravens.
I agree. Give me the Ravens. Well, the Bills look really solid so far, though. If Buffalo is going to overcome KC, this one might be the year. But against the Buffalo Bills, they got to prove they can do it. But I'm going to take Baltimore here, though. All right, Monday. I'm so sorry to America. The Tennessee Titans and the Miami Dolphins. I don't know why we're subjecting the country to this matchup. Miami is just a complete disaster without Tua. We don't know who's going to be a quarterback here. And Tennessee, as we all know, I don't need to go on anymore about the Titans. I don't know who's going to win this game. Maybe a meteor should hit it. Maybe that'll make me feel better. I'm going to pick Miami.
I mean, tickets are going for $21. Would you? I guess there's cheaper and better things to do down in South Florida, especially in the Miami area, than this game. But
I would go if someone paid me to go, but that's the only way I would go.
Only if you had to work. Like, hey, Nick, you're gonna have to cover this game. Then
I'll take the trip to Miami. I'll go to Miami and enjoy my leisure time outside of having to cover this trash game. Yeah. Bye. And the Titans, though, the Titans did win in Miami last year on Monday Night Football, so they certainly could do it again. Yeah. It's just crazy because at least as a Titans fan, I didn't really have any playoff expectations, but the team is worse than I thought they would be. Miami, though, had legit playoff aspirations, and it feels like that's gone all out the window at this point. So,
yeah,
I don't know, maybe the Titans win here. I don't know.
Give me the Titans. Give me the Titans.
I'm still going to go Dolphins, but it'll be an interesting game, I guess. All right, and in the game that everyone should watch on Monday, the Seattle Seahawks at the Detroit Lions. Please watch this one. Don't waste your time with the other one. In Detroit, this will be a good atmosphere. I think the Lions will get it done.
I mean, it worked out great for ESPN having this doubleheader where the games are going to be kind of simultaneously broadcast. So the majority of America are going to have to watch Seattle and the Lions because this game is on ABC. So it's going to be on free TV. The Titans and the Dolphins are on ESPN, which is on cable.
Right. And no one but absolute degenerates should be watching that game. So, yeah. So let's, so that's NFL. Some other brief things before we wrap up this episode. Of course, this is the last week of the MLB regular season. Basically, every single division has been locked up, I believe, at this point.
And I guess there's still some divisions up for grabs. The the NL West is still up for grabs, and the AL East is still up for grabs.
Right, but the Yankees are a game or two away from being able to clinch that. But really, the one that's still in control, the NL West was going to go into the weekend. It's the only one that will probably go into the weekend. Now, still, the biggest firefight here.
And they're playing right now. The Padres and the Dodgers are actually playing right now. And the Padres are up by 3 in the top of the 7th. So this NL West fight is going to be interesting. And now the Dodgers are on the lead, 4-3.
Wow. 4-3. Shohei Ohtani last week too. Just shout out to him. That game he had, where I believe it was 6-6, had 3 home runs. Just an unreal performance. I mean, that's the type of performance to get you $600 million.
And he's going to be I don't see how he's going to be as close probably to a unanimous MVP. I don't see anybody else getting close.
Yeah, he should be. But obviously the one that we're keeping our eye on though is this National League wild card fight because the Mets, the Diamondbacks, and the Braves are all within a half game of each other. 2 of those 3 teams are gonna make the playoffs. One of them is going home.
and
And of
they were supposed to
course,
play each other, but unfortunately they couldn't.
yeah, because of the let's see, Mets Bracers postponed to Monday, and then
Rain, because
yeah,
of
because
rain.
of the hurricane that's coming.
Yeah.
So the Mets, there's going to be a doubleheader on Monday in Atlanta.
So this Monday is good, and if things keep the way it is, and maybe if the Diamondbacks fell apart, which they're gonna have to face uh, the Giants. Maybe this will be already kind of like a playoff game, even.
Yeah, it's going to be. So it's going to be a huge game. I mean, it's probably a bigger game for the Mets just because the Mets have had all these questions about their playoff success or lack thereof. The Braves have had success in recent years.
Or even
So,
making the playoff. I think making is important because of all the money that Steve Cohen spent, and in the recent years they are not even making the playoffs.
oh, for sure. So this one I think is bigger for the Mets for sure. So I'm curious. I don't know. The Braves have not been good at all, but doesn't it feel like the Braves are still going to find a way just to sneak their way in? Somehow,
Yeah,
like I don't know.
I mean, it would be really clutchy if somehow the Braves makes to the. I mean, and it would be devastating for New York. It would be really devastating.
Oh, absolutely. So it's going to be fun. This time next week, we're going to have a playoff bracket to react to. So it's about to be the baseball playoffs because it's almost October. So we'll see what's going to happen there in baseball and who's going to win it. Yeah. Speaking of playoffs, though, we have the WNBA playoffs are underway. Unfortunately, the cash cow for the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, has been eliminated with the Indiana Fever. They lost 81-87 tonight to the Connecticut Sun. They got swept. Also, the Minnesota Lynx won their game tonight with the Phoenix Mercury, so they're through to the semifinals as well. In fact, actually, all four, so New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces, too, also swept their games. So all four were 2-0 sweeps because it's just 3-0 games, which kind of doesn't make sense to me, but I mean, it is a shorter season, I guess. But Caitlin Clark, I don't think has anything to hang her head about. I mean, she had an incredible rookie season. She won Rookie of the Year, and more importantly, made the WNBA relevant. In a league that people are actually excited to watch. Like I saw the crowd at Minnesota, because I've had it on here in the background, and that place was packed. So the WNBA has way more fans than they had before, and it's good for the growth of the league. So now Caitlin Clark, hopefully she can go take a good rest. I want her to take a good vacation because she has been at full blast since last October, right? Because she played the full college season, they had to come straight into the WNBA. Yeah. But if I had to guess for the finals, I would take the Aces versus Minnesota, Las Vegas versus Minnesota. And I think Las Vegas is going to win their back-to-back titles. So that would just be my guess.
Yeah, I think Vegas is gonna win again, and her and they are definitely dominating the league. And Becky Hammond, what a job she's doing. I mean, she is really gonna be kind of looked at for the NBA because she has an NBA experience.
I mean, she could. I think it's only a matter of time before they hire someone takes a chance and hires a woman as their coach. I think that's going to happen eventually. And Becky Hammond would be the person to do that. Last note, some NASCAR. I'm going to be honest. This is probably the first Cup race I really didn't watch at all because it was the same exact time as the Balls game. So, and also, just once again, NASCAR, don't schedule the Bristol night race during important Tennessee football games. Terrible idea. Now, they still have that fantastic crowd in Bristol, but man, I feel like they're missing a serious opportunity. But Kyle Larson dominated. Nothing really happened in this race, thankfully, so I didn't really miss anything exciting. Four drivers were eliminated. We had Ty Gibbs, Martin Truex Jr. in his last year. Of course, he's retiring, so he's not going to win a championship in his following year. Brad Keselowski and Harrison Burton all eliminated. We've got 12 drivers left heading to Kansas this week, which had a 3-wide finish earlier this year. So, going to be an exciting race if I can find some time to watch it. But that's all the time that we have for Two Countries, Two Americas All Sports here on this early Thursday morning here. Of course, in 24 hours, I'm going to be getting ready to battle a hurricane. So that's going to be a fun time. But
stay safe out there.
Absolutely. Stay safe to everyone in Florida and all other parts of the Southeast. But for Gus down in Americana, Sao Paulo, Brazil, I'm Nick Hill in Chattanooga, Tennessee, United States. You've been watching episode 148 of Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports.